Hello and welcome to Olivia's Catastrophe. I'm Olivia and today I'm here to give you a book review of A School for Unusual Girls by Kathleen Baldwin. This book is set in 1814, around the time of the French Revolution, and it follows this young adult girl called Georgiana, who accidentally sets her father's stables on fire as she's doing a scientific experiment. Georgie doesn't even try to fit into female society standards, so her parents ship her off to this house called Stranger House, which is a house that uses whatever methods needed to make girls who don't fit into the ways of society fit into the ways of society. But when Georgie gets there, she starts to find out things are not quite what they seem, and that this is particularly a school for, you guessed it, unusual girls. And these girls are actually being trained to be spies for the English cause in the French Revolution. Doesn't that sound like an interesting premise? It did to me. But let's talk about the novel now. Of course, it is a historical fiction novel, so it's set in England in the past, and I was quite worried about this just because, okay, I read quite a bit of historical fiction, but not set as far back as 1814. Usually it sticks to around the 1900s when I'm reading. So I was a bit nervous about all of that, but you know, the way that the author has done this, it's quite easy to see what is historically normal or historically accepted in that time and what isn't. And she just does a very good job of setting up the world or the time period in a way that's easy for someone who never reads that time period to understand. I understood how 1814 England worked and rolled by reading this book. Secondly, I just have to love, it was the main thing I loved about this book, was the amount of girl power and feminism I was getting from this book. Like, the feminism vibes are very strong. Basically, a school full of female outcasts, because these girls don't really just want to be stuck on domestic life. They want to use their intelligence, their interest in the art of science and deduction and all the other freedoms that guys have but girls don't. Yeah, this is what this book is all about. And these girls, they manage to, in this strange, unusual school, do all of those things, but at the same time those girls don't ignore the domestic side of things. And I have to really appreciate that, because it shows a side of feminism that sometimes I forget myself, which is that for a woman, you can do all the things that guys do, but it doesn't mean you don't have to do, the domestic life kind of thing. You can do both. You can do either. You can do all. You don't have to do any at all. Basically, it's just more about girls having the freedom to do the same thing as guys if they want to, and they don't necessarily have to. And I think that this book just did a really great job of that. On top of that, it's a house full of girls. The sisterly kind of love forming between all these outcasts in society worked so well. All of the girls have their own individual kind of speciality. So for example, one will be great at science, aka the main character Georgie, and one might be better at the art of deduction, and the other might be better at, I don't know, climbing walls and fighting. So you just get all these girls who have different specialities, who are individual, who are unique, but then they all come together so well in the story to get, some kick-butting done. So I really enjoyed seeing all of them fit together. As for the secondary characters in this novel, they're not underdeveloped, but they're not delved into too deeply. They're kind of there and they function and they do what they need to for the story, but they also have their own background information. I think they'll become more involved in the second book, and that's something I'm looking forward to a lot as well. I also thought it was very interesting to see the background of each of the girls, because they've all been outcast for one reason or another, and the book does give you insight into why that is, and I really liked seeing a bit more unravelling of each of the girls. I have to say though that this book is a bit slow in the beginning. It's more heavily focused on the characters in the beginning of the novel and getting into the story, getting into the historical time, and then later on in the novel the plot really kicks in and the suspense, oh my goodness, when the suspense rose, I was absolutely loving it. I was literally turning the pages so quickly because the book gets so suspenseful, a whole load of twists and turns that I didn't expect was suddenly happening. But you do have to wait a bit for it to get there, so if you're patient and immerse yourself into the characters, I promise you will be rewarded with this book. Another thing that I wasn't quite expecting, quite disappointing but acceptable, was that love became such a prominent theme in the book. It became very much of importance, so the relationship kind of took a bit more of a front seat than I wanted, but regardless of me saying that, it didn't take over the whole novel, and it was kind of necessary to the novel because we needed these two characters to care about each other, otherwise they wouldn't be motivated to do what they need to do for the plot, so it makes sense. But I wasn't too keen on love becoming such a big thing in the novel, but you know, it still worked out and it still made sense, so can't really argue with that point too much. Oh, and I wanted to mention the author's writing style, which was absolutely perfect for this book, because it's straightforward and simple enough for you to always get what's happening, always get the situation. I mean, this is a young adult book, you kind of need that, but at the same time the genre is young adult literature and it is set in the 1800s, so the writing style kind of had enough sophistication in it for it to really set the mood and tone and atmosphere for a book being set in the past, and I think the author does that really well, the balance of it being simple, straightforward, and yet sophisticated enough to pass for 1814 England. And that's all I really have to say on this novel. It was a really good read, I really enjoyed it, and I've got the sequel on my shelf behind me, which means I get to start it and read it very soon and tell you all about it. I cannot wait to get to it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comment section below what is your favourite and least favourite household chore. Yes, we're getting quite domesticated in this conversation today. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, hit that notification bell if you want to be notified every time I have a new video, and hey, if you want to do me a favour, share this review with one of your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye! Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments